A sheriff, a judge, a courthouse chamber, and a surveillance camera that captured everything. On September 19, 2024, Letcher County Sheriff Shawn "Mickey" Stines allegedly walked into District Judge Kevin Mullins' chambers inside a Kentucky courthouse, and a fatal shooting occurred moments later. But something wasn't right, because this didn't happen in isolation. It didn't start in that room. It started long before that day, inside a courthouse already under quiet legal pressure. Inside that system, a civil lawsuit had been building tension. A federal case involving allegations of illicit sexual misconduct connected to courthouse activity, including claims tied to the use of courthouse spaces inappropriately and improper handling of complaints. One former deputy was accused in connection with these allegations. And while Sheriff Stines was not the central target of the lawsuit, he was pulled directly into it. Just 3 days before the shooting, he gave a sworn deposition. Hours of questioning, legal pressure, reputation on the line, and according to investigators, that moment may have been a breaking point, because what happened after that deposition raised serious concerns. Family testimony later suggested Stines had stopped sleeping properly, not for one night, not for two, but for nearly a week. Severe sleep deprivation, rising paranoia, emotional instability, and a mind that, according to the defense, was beginning to detach from reality. But something wasn't right, because pressure alone does not explain what happened next. On September 19, 2024, everything appears normal inside the courthouse. People moving through hallways, cases being processed, routine operations continuing as usual. But inside that building, Sheriff Stines arrives. No warning, no alarm. He walks through familiar courthouse corridors, straight toward Judge Kevin Mullins' private chambers, a room tied directly to the same judicial system now under civil scrutiny. The door closes. Inside that room, two men are alone, and surveillance cameras begin recording. At first, nothing unusual, no shouting, no visible argument, just silence. But then, everything changes in a single moment. A sudden movement, a weapon appears, and a gunshot echoes inside the courthouse chambers. Judge Kevin Mullins collapses inside the room where justice is supposed to exist. And immediately, everything falls apart. But police had no idea. The surveillance video had already locked in every second. At first, investigators believed this was a straightforward case, a sheriff accused of killing a judge. But when they reviewed the footage more carefully, a disturbing detail emerged. Moments before the shooting, Stines uses a phone, then another phone, rapid movements, disoriented behavior, and according to records, a call was made to his daughter seconds before the shooting. But something wasn't right. Because this didn't look like a controlled, planned act. It looked unstable, fragmented, like someone operating under extreme psychological strain. And that is when the entire case shifted. Because investigators were no longer just asking what happened, they were asking why his mind was in that state at all. The defense built their argument around that question. They pointed to severe sleep deprivation, they pointed to psychological breakdown, and they pointed to what they called an active psychotic episode at the time of the shooting. A man losing contact with reality, a mind collapsing under legal pressure, personal strain, and emotional overload. But prosecutors rejected that interpretation completely. They focused on something else: control, access, familiarity, and intent. Because this was not a stranger. This was the sheriff of the county, inside his own courthouse, walking directly into a judge's chambers, a space he understood, a system he worked in daily. And that detail would later become crucial, because courts must decide whether mental collapse removes intent, or simply explains it. As the investigation expanded, the deeper pressure points became unavoidable. The civil lawsuit involving courthouse misconduct allegations, the deposition just 3 days before the shooting, the reputational damage tied to the scandal, and the internal stress building inside the justice system itself. Each factor alone might not explain the outcome, but together, they created a pressure environment that investigators could not ignore. Then came the surveillance video again, the most important piece of evidence in the case. Because it does not argue, it does not interpret, it only shows, but it cannot explain intent. And that is where this case becomes divided, because two completely different narratives now exist. One side sees deliberate violence inside a courthouse. The other sees a psychological collapse triggered by extreme pressure and mental breakdown. Both interpretations feel possible, but only one will stand in court. The aftermath was immediate. Stines was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Held without bond, the courthouse became the center of national attention. legal battles erupted. Defense teams pushed for psychiatric evaluations. Attempts were made to remove the death penalty from consideration. Requests were filed to move the trial out of the county due to extreme public tension. And multiple judicial challenges were denied. Even the system itself became part of the conflict. And through all of it, the surveillance video remains unchanged, looping the same moment, over and over again. A moment that shows exactly what happened, but still does not answer why. And that is where this case leaves us today. A sheriff, a judge, a courthouse, three symbols of justice, all connected in a single moment of violence. But the question that remains is not what happened inside that room. It is what broke down before that door ever opened. Was this murder, or a complete psychological collapse inside the justice system itself? The court will decide the legal answer, but the truth behind that moment may never feel simple. And maybe that is the most disturbing part of all, because the system built to enforce justice could not prevent violence from happening inside it. Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you want more true crime documentaries like this, subscribe to the channel, because the next case may challenge everything you think you understand about justice, and once you see it, you can't unsee it.